PKN49. How are the boys?
Pretty good.
Doing
Pretty
good.
Yeah.
I'm so desirous for summer all year, and it's like I forget what summer is. Like I remember like how awesome April is. If every month could be April, prime, and then a couple of Septembers in there, like just intermix, not all in a row, that would be so much better. And you always think that when you come out of the horrors of winter, you get to like mid-April and you're like, I'm in prime. Like it's nice. It's like 70s. And then now it was 105 here 2 days ago. I got sunburned walking out of my backyard every 2 hours to check on the meat I was smoking.
Oh, for shame.
It's hotter. We've had nice days here lately.
A man can't even smoke his meat.
90. I smoke my meat all the time.
I could if I was flexible enough.
I have an extended definition. So it's been super nice here. It was super nice today, actually. I did a bunch of motorcycle maintenance. I did a little motorcycle maintenance very slowly, but I felt good about it.
That's
Top
the best.
off the oil, which is nothing, but all right, I'm gonna describe it. See if there's anyone's interested. My motorcycle has a spot to mount a GPS. GPS is really nice on an adventure bike because you go off-road and you don't have, the cell connection and all that stuff. So you want something that works like an old school GPS did. Cool. I wired mine in an Idaho parking lot of the dealership I bought it from during like the worst heat wave last year. It was like 105. I'm melting under a tree. And I did kind of an unprofessional job. I just kind of laced it through to the battery. But there's a better way. If you disassemble the headlight and the fucking display with the speedometer and take the whole front end apart, there are two little accessory cables that are wired into the switch. So when you turn the key on, the GPS turns on. And when you turn it off, vice versa. And I have this big trip coming up, and I have worn my battery down twice by leaving the GPS on overnight. It's not so much a thing that happens at a campsite because you see it glowing, but it's easy to leave it on in your garage. And it's just like, you know what? I should get this buttoned up. I should do it with a professional job. And I spent all day doing a 2-hour job. And it turned out perfect. It is perfect. I've got like liquid electrical tape, like sealing the whole thing. Not electrical tape, because you all know that shit looks terrible in 2.5 years. Yeah. No, this is like weather sealed perfectly and held together, and everything is routed nicely. And too often, every time I touch something, especially with wiring, it gets a little worse. Right, it's just a little less professional. There's a couple more zip ties.
Shitty Midas touch.
And this was a situation where I did it pro, and I feel very good about it, and everything works. And that's what I did today.
Really, they call that like a greasy thumb.
I washed.
The move is perilously close, and so I'm throwing things away. I've got a dumpster to throw stuff in, and so I'm definitely not a hoarder, but I have like held on to things that I don't need to hold on to. And I'm just like,
purge.
Every time I look at a thing, I'm just like, there's no chance I'm going to watch a Blu-ray copy of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly ever again. Am I going to look down a DVD player and say, you know what, let's do it looks like in 1080p tonight instead of 4K. I don't know. Maybe Clint looks better. No, that's not going to happen. Let's just throw all of these Blu-rays away. And then I started throwing all the old fucking like hard copy video games away. So
Can
when I
you
was
sell
left
Blu-rays? Like, will
probably
people buy those?
I'm old people, maybe prisoners, people like that, or people like that live in Slab City that I want to talk about in a minute. They would want them maybe, but I'm throwing them right in the dumpster. The only thing I kept was my my old DVD copy of Lord of the Rings extended edition because they're so ridiculous. Those big
they look like
folding
books.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad about throwing the Xbox 360 copy of Modern Warfare 2 away.
You're not going to find any more of those.
I might have Modern Warfare 3. I swear to God, right in. I swear.
So how many did you throw away? I know you probably just said it. How many were there, do you think?
DVDs and games and stuff?
Yeah.
Like a box. Like a box of
like
maybe
100?
Like 50 total. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you weren't, it wasn't. There used to be a thing where people would kind of
I see.
Collect like 3,000 of them, and it'd be like a decorative part of their house. And I think they just didn't anticipate how antiquated they'd become.
Well, we had gone through those big like phases in the past, like through the 80s and throughout the entire 90s, VHS fucking did it. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it was like step every 3 years, like it's been recently, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, hard copies of movies and stuff like that are lame. Like, you don't want that unless you want it for nostalgic purposes. I know people are collecting VHSs now. People are building these huge rooms full of them.
There's a guy in
And-
our hangout who does it. Yeah.
Sure,
He's
and,
got a
and
ton.
I'm not going to do that. So I'm throwing it all away. I also threw away all 3 of my extra dip and pull up like apparatuses, those things that you do dips and pull-ups from, and all my 1-inch plates. They have the 1-inch hole in them. So
you don't even have a
I'm
1-inch
throwing
bar.
so much junk in there that I should have purged already.
Dude, you should sell the 1-inch plates. Someone will buy those.
Gone.
Oh, you just gone. They're crushing the good, the bad, and the ugly right now.
I
Is what it's
poured
doing.
some really dirty garbage right on top of them. So
just to be like, everybody in the neighborhood's like, that's some really good shit. And he's like, also, I'm gonna piss and come on it. So it's mine.
I did have that thought that, like, I don't want anybody looking in here and seeing my copy of Insanity from 2011. Remember that workout, like 90-day program?
Mhm.
I don't want them seeing my 99% unused copy of Insanity, because it's like 15 DVDs and diving in for it. I want them to have to go through garbage juice if they do. But yeah, the people in Slab City, I watched this thing on YouTube today. I think there's a Vice little documentary thing they did on it, but I watched a YouTube video that's like an hour long. They're basically like nomads who live in squalor out in the desert, and I believe Arizona. It doesn't matter when you're in the southwestern United States, though.
Right, desert.
They're on like free land or something. Like, they call it a town,
Okay.
but it's really much more like
Commune.
a bunch of like everybody's like bearded and like dirty looking. All the kids are clearly like the one kid has like a gimpy leg, like it's like turned really fucked up, and he's talking shit about it. He's like, first thing people always want to do is kick me in my gimpy leg, and I'm like, really? They do? Yeah, they always go for my gimpy leg. But I've been hit there so much. That's my strongest point now. My gimpy leg. And you best believe I'm gonna kick you with my gimpy leg.
Dude,
And
someone's
I'm
got to call CPS or something. Like, this is
He's like 16. And he's
that's
like
not a
making
whack pack
beats.
member. That's a child
he's
being
in there
abused
on-
by the
He's in
community.
there on like an iPhone 6 making beats, saying he's a beat maker. And then his best friend is a white guy who's all
His beats
cross-eyed.
made upon him.
His best friend is like a cross-eyed white guy, and like severely cross-eyed. And he's like, sometimes I go to school, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
It's like these are the level of people we're talking
Depends if
about.
I get the turn right.
Depends which of the buses I start chasing.
Yeah. They think it's truancy, but it's profound blindness.
So him and the gimpy guy like fight on the trampoline to determine who's the strongest tart of the park. And then what was the other thing that happened that was just awful? Oh, there's a part where, like, I don't know, the kid with the fucked up eyes is like watching the train go by, and it was like the train has the American flag on it, and I was just thinking, like, there goes America, but they're like not really in America because they have no.
Is
It's
there
not
any
a town. They pay a guy $3 for the shower.
So there's no infrastructure. Okay, there's no
Slab
infrastructure.
City. I think I have seen this. Is
This
there like
makes
a
it look so
mayor of
much-
Slab City or something that like
Yeah, there he is in the
Mock
bottom
runs
center.
it?
That's
I know. So
that mixed
Zach
race
wrote,
fellow.
Slab City, also called the Slabs, is an unincorporated, off the grid alternative lifestyle community consisting largely of snowbirds in the Salton Trough area, in the Sonoran Desert and Imperial County, California. All right, so it's just a piece of land no one was using that they camp out in.
Yes,
much.
but they're there. But like you read, the snowbirds are a thing that I saw them talking about in the video. They're like, yeah, there's some folks, they come down here, they can't handle the summers. Oh, it gets hot. And you're like, this guy lives here. He is not a snowbird. He's like, that's how I used to be. I just come down for the winters. And now he's there charging $3 a shower. And then like another crusty old man comes up and like takes a shower in his shower. And he's explaining how there's an economy. He's like, I got $3 a shower. You got to burn my propane. You got to use my water. Seems fair enough. And then this other guy comes out. He's about the same age, but I would argue a better looking man. And he comes out after his shower, and the crusty guy's like, oh, you're looking like $1 million. Like, so much better. He's like, yeah, yeah. And like they kind of had like throw barbs back and forth, and then that guy walks away, and the crusty guy looks at him longingly for this brief pause that I caught, and then he goes, I don't charge Bob for his showers. That's how good of friends we are. And I was like, yeah. You love Bob, huh?
Oh, you think he and Bob were taking free showers together?
No, absolutely. I don't think Bob would have that, but I think the crusty old guy running the shower place, he loves Bob. He's only giving Bob the free showers. Pretty sure he's peeping in on Bob, if we're being real.
Could be. Maybe Bob's just an insane guy with just a horse penis.
It looked real sad.
That guy likes it.
I had seen those people on like Indian reservations. Moreover, how that's depicted, I think, in media than what it's actually like. But it seems bad. You get what you get. Never forget the little bighorn. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
But all the same, these people are like off the grid in the same way that those reservation people are, in a way. Like you see what it's like when there are no roads or water or electricity. Like when you take those or law enforcement, like you take those things completely out of the picture.
Stable structures.
And the guy was like, I think they asked him about law enforcement. He's like, oh, we got laws. There's a fella around here bullying folks, treating people bad. Called the police on him. They took him in for a day. They let him right out, of course. Of course, when he came back, he didn't have a thing in the world because we'd burned it all to the ground.
Burned what? His rock collection? What the fuck did these people? There's nothing there.
Trailer. They burnt his little fucking trailer down. A lot of them have like RVs that you would pull up. They're like literally like not meant to be full-time residences. Like we crack jokes about that place Wings lives in. But these are like real like hobo
like
trailers. Yeah.
Double wides when they get old. Like, do they wear down and just turn into not houses anymore?
At some point, they just collapse in on themselves and devour their tenants.
Like that might happen
what I hear.
To a house if you don't take care of it, if you don't replace the roof, if you don't like, can a double wide just be maintained in perpetuity?
In humid temperatures, I would argue no. I've just never seen it. I've seen those. My great grand aunt, like it matters, lived in a single wide trailer her entire life down by the river. And that thing had to have been 40 years old, something like that. It had to have been. It was so bad. You couldn't drag her out. You couldn't drag her to like a nice retirement community.
Like born in that?
No, she was born in a real house.
Or obviously not the 40-year-old trailer, in a trailer by the river, and she just switched trailers at one point, and that was her whole life.
She had lived in other places, but she'd been there for like the last 40 years, like in that spot. And like when you're 93 or whatever she died at, the last 40 are kind of important, I guess, as far as like determining where you're going to stay, because she stayed down there and died. And it was like, you don't want to say it, but it's like, Floyd, you realize the situation you're putting me in here is that I have to check on you daily to see if you've died yet. You realize that, right, Floyd?
One day I'm going to walk up to your fucking trailer and it's going to smell like an air fryer, and I'm going to walk in and you will have been cooked by the
Floyd, I'm trying to protect myself against the smell, okay? Yeah. We're trying to limit the exposure time. Like when you're 93, 94 and not spry, it's like, man, you could go any day. You look like you already did.
Oh, yeah. Did you see that video of
74.
Jimmy Carter? Like he
after he fell.
No, it was him like doing his like Habitat for Humanity, whatever it is, where he like makes a house. Except it was like a couple of handlers like holding two boards that clearly didn't need to be nailed together. And then like it's like I'm watching it being like,
the one where he had the Band-Aid on his face?
He has the Band-Aid.
That's
and
it's after the fall.
He just my god.
Let him rest. Let him.
He refused.
He refused to rest. He's out there trying to inspire people to make homes for homeless.
You know, he still shakes everybody's hands on flights. He just did it this weekend.
Well, then if he's still with it, then that's okay. I just when I see people that old, I always just feel
that man
so
could
bad.
beat
Everything
the shit
they
out
do.
of Joe Biden. All right, I'm going to say it right now. If you give that peanut farmer from Georgia a claw hammer and half a reason, he could beat the president of the United States to death if he needed to.
He might be able to beat him in a bike race.
No, that's a good point.
You can never beat him in a bike race. That's Biden's thing.
You
No,
didn't see
well,
Biden
apparently not. Did you see Biden take a
fell
take a
again.
tumble off his bike?
I feel like you don't have any experience with toe clips. That's a tough situation, and it happens to everyone.
We
That's
don't have
so-
experience with toe clips. We have experience watching
I
old
do.
presidents fall.
I was 8'2" once. I remember
are
you
for
do that a
serious
couple times,
cyclists.
and you're like, "Oh, damn it!" Like I remember that, but also it's like,
So
dude,
wait,
you
he's
fell
got
off a
toe
fucking
clips
bike.
in, like
Yeah.
there.
He had
He's
when
got
he fell
cycling
over.
shoes
What
with the clip
happened
thing.
was, it looked like he had the older style toe clips where you slip your toe in this little cage.
Mhm.
So before they had special shoes that clipped on, you put regular shoes in a cage. And then
Okay.
the point is you can pull, for people who don't know, you can pull up on the pedal and push down on it. The downside is when you go to stop, you can't just take your foot off the pedal. It sucks. You have to slide your foot out of the pedal from towards the back for it to come out. And it's not intuitive. So
So what are we to believe, that he's this awesome fit biker, or that this was his first time taking a trek? Like
I think he got
fell.
his foot stuck in the toe clip, like happens to fucking everyone that uses toe clips sometimes.
Okay. I think it was a pretty wild video. Like
I
he
think if
fell
I was
Is this
gonna,
it?
I think if I was gonna ride a bicycle in front of the press, like I wish
Yeah.
that the camera
Oh.
could zoom out sometimes because that's so telling often. But what it looks like to me is they've been like, all right, everyone, press, media, cocksuckers, line up. President Joe is going to ride his bike to right here. This is the
Yeah.
finish line. Everyone, get your fucking cameras out. God damn it, I mean it. And then like here he comes, looking good. His legs look good. I saw Rogan watch this video and react to it, and he made a good point. He's like, he looks sturdy, but then like he can't get his foot out of the pedal clip thing. And I remember those
Do
little.
you see what happened? Like
Well, I know
Oh,
he
yeah.
foot out of the pedal clip
he
thing.
put
Yeah,
his foot down on the one side, everything's cool, and then he goes to like straddle the bike, and his toe got caught in the toe clip.
Yeah, everybody knows what happened.
I
I'm
feel like
just
people
saying,
don't.
Woody,
I feel like even when I mentioned it here, like, did he have a toe clip? Was there a toe clip?
No,
Well,
we all saw
well,
the
I
toe-
didn't know
we
he
were
had-
using toe clips as a kid when I would ride a bike.
I've never
No,
used a toe clip
Kyle
before in my
literally
life.
didn't know it right now.
I didn't know.
So
No,
not
I still
everyone
don't know what a toe. I mean, I'm pretending. I'm doing a good job.
knew.
No,
Doing a great job. You had look at that. You fooled me. 100%.
I understand the concept of a toe clip, a thing that's
Yeah.
holding his foot captive. I just don't necessarily
first saw the
believe
video-
that it's the way to go for bike riders because I've seen it in
Yeah.
practice.
He doesn't need it. He's not riding on a competitive level. He shouldn't have had toe clips.
That.
The first time I saw the video, I thought he was so bad at riding a bike now. Obviously he's ridden deteriorated,
Mhm.
that he couldn't choose which side he leans to. I thought that's like his skill had like he put down his left foot and fell right. Oh my god,
That's no
he's
good.
terrible. But that's not what
Yeah.
happened. He put down his left foot, everything's cool. Then when he went to straddle it, his toe was stuck in the
I would argue that a stronger man
Wouldn't have fallen off a bike,
wouldn't have fallen off a bike.
especially
look,
when you know, like, here's the one time to not fall.
And like better than me because I know like you used to do a lot of bike riding,
Yeah.
so I'm sure. But like, how often was it that you'd fall like that? Like
Oh my god, not often, but I would say I've done it a total of like 6 times, and only when 30 people are watching.
well,
Never alone.
mine's only
You're
done when
alone.
30
You're
million are watching.
spry.
I've seen
Yeah.
guys, so I've definitely seen him fall twice, like definitely
okay.
twice, right?
Mhm.
Wait, one was
So-
on off the bike or up the stairs on that
Off-
plane?
I've seen I saw him go down. He's gone down twice on bikes and then once on the stairs.
One time I was at a stoplight, and I'm riding with like, I don't know, 18 other people, and I fell and made the person to my side fall too.
Oh.
I dominoed him. It's like, oh fuck.
I always
so
imagined,
sorry.
like, I've seen those bike races where that happens, and I always imagine, like, if you're that first guy, like, you have to be getting up, like, what the hell? What's going on here?
Just play it off.
Like, it's that meme where, like,
Y'all
we're all trying to find
ran
the
me
guy
for
who
no
did this. Like, like, because it would be so embarrassing. You'd be like, I need to get home before they check the footage. I need to find a new hobby. I'm
Have
out
you
of
ever
the
done that?
game.
Have you ever had an actual moment of like you're the one who did it and you're looking around like, I'm so mad at whoever put us all in this mess. Like
I've
when I flooded my apartment and everybody in the whole building was outside as the alarms went off and the water shot out. Like, and the fire department's there. Like, there must have been 30 of us out there. Everybody's the same way. Like, not dressed the way you would normally dress when you go
they're
out. Dressed for an emergency, arms crossed, angry. People were cooking. People have kids in their arms,
Mhm.
and I'm, yeah, whoever did this.
There's a bunch of water coming out of 14A. Who lives in that?
Let's get him.
All right, well, process of elimination, folks. You're one, and you're just sitting there like, I need to. Oh, I forgot I have a date.
It was so embarrassing. I did have a date. It was my birthday. That was one of the worst nights of my life. Like that's like top 10 worst nights of my life. Flooding my apartment while getting ready for my birthday dinner. And I swear to God, one of the reasons I'm so protective of those Lord of the Rings, like 4-disc box sets. That's the only thing that survived that apartment flooding. like you can still see the water damage on them from that apartment fire.
See, that's
I was like, not the DVDs, not the Lord of the Rings.
Just soaked in that shitty, been in the pipes for 22 years, rusty water.
It was so awful. It was one of the worst days of my life. It really was. That was great.
Speaking of good days, which I had a couple of good days this weekend, I went out and I bought a Traeger smoker. Decent enough size one I can make a whole bunch of meat.
Can I interrupt? The Traeger smoker is a very good specialized kind of barbecue type thing, and it competes with the green golf ball one for like the most premium good
something
smoker.
like that.
Yeah. Okay.
They're pretty good. Like I did my due diligence online, and there wasn't any reason I could say. The one I got was like I think it was like $700, and the green eggs were like 12, 13, 14 in some cases. And people were like, it's, if you're going to get the Traeger and you want to do the same thing as the green egg, just get the higher end one that like reads the temperature. Yeah, that's the one I tweeted. And so like on the right there, it's electronic. And so you like run an outlet to it, and then you put a bunch of pellets. I'm going through some hickory pellets right now in there into the hopper. And then it, through indirect smoke heat, it obviously feeds it. And then over long, many, many hours, it smokes the meat. And I in my head, like when Woody talked about like, I did a 2-hour activity all day. I was so productive. Like it's the same way I was like, oh yeah, I've been slaving over laundry today. And it's like, I've been doing a load at every hour, for 2 minutes. I guess what it takes for this. Like this, I don't know if I'm ever going to grill ever again. This is the better way. This is so much better. I bought a 5-pound pork butt, and my wife and I got it. And I thought it was going to be a lot more activity. You just put it on there, put in the meat thermometer, and then close it when it's at like 225. And then it's like, all right, well, and I was like, so do we like check on it at any point? Like asking my wife, and she was like, no. I was like, really? Not ever. And she's like, no, next time we're going to open it is 6.5 hours from now when internal temperature gets to 190. And we were a little too much gusto on how soon we would get the temperature to 190, because it was supposed to be done by like 8 p.m. Saturday night. And it gets to 8 p.m.
Was it technically Saturday?
And it was technically done, because all it has to get to is 165, and it was like 172, 175, somewhere around there. And my wife is like, I'm just so hungry. Can we eat it now? And I'm like, no. And so we wait, and it's 11:40, like 8 at night, and it gets to like 190, like on the dot. And she's like, I'm not waiting anymore. So I was like, okay. So I went and got it. And as like I was eating it, I'm like, see, wasn't it a good idea to wait for 190? And she's like, oh, it was a great idea, honey. Like, I had to wait for 190. I should have never doubted, because she was like coming at me like wanting someone who wants to open a time capsule too early at like 178. Like, it's still gonna be good. It's still gonna be good. And I'm like, we're in it for 7 hours, and we're gonna pull it out now at the cusp, at the cusp of Flavor Town. You want us to bail out? No, we're not doing that. And so I got a bunch of different barbecue sauces from the store. I've got my G. Hughes low calorie one, but I found some like Japanese barbecue sauce that was a little too much umami there, not much spice, but got some real hot ones. The next day, because I did eat a tremendous amount of pulled pork between midnight and 1 that morning. The next day, I wanted to have like variety for dinner that night, and so I made a whole chicken with a beer can in the ass. Have you heard of those ones where like it like moistens it, or you you cut the top off a beer, and then you put like seasoning in the beer, then you put it in the chicken ass, and you roast that. You smoke it. It's just a Bud Light. It seemed like it didn't really matter what kind you use. Some people like even use like chicken broth and stuff. I think as long as you keep it moist, that's what the beer's there for. Mm-hmm. Maybe there is something the beer does. Do you know? Does the alcohol do anything? I feel like
I would not think it's the alcohol. I think that some people just like the taste of beer for some odd reason, and so they put one of those in there.
Oh, online they always say beer. Or
I've always seen those people like go to smoke a chicken or something, and they're like, "All right, let's check on it in 7 hours." And when they like take the thing off, it's ashes.
Yeah.
It's literally ashes. Like
oh well, it
not
didn't
even-
make sense to me how fast, because the chicken was like 2 hours and 10 minutes done. Like easily, I didn't make pulled chicken. I just smoked the chicken. It would have been longer if I made pulled chicken. The pork, which was like less weight total, took infinitely longer because I guess like all that steam, that like boiling steam coming out in the middle of it, like accelerates the cooking because it's like cooking from the inside and the outside, right? I guess that would make sense. I don't know, but tomorrow I've got a plan. I'm gonna go grab a big old rack of ribs and I'm gonna make some spicy smoked ribs. I'm like excited about it. I'm gonna go do that. I'm gonna do the 3-2-1 method, where it's 3 hours on the direct, then 2 hours in the foil, and then the last hour out of the foil again, basted in whatever sauce you're using. I'm gonna like, and I've been telling myself this whole time that like this is like good for me. like this is.
I was circling around to that.
It's not for your mental health.
Bad for me. The chicken wasn't that bad for me. The pork, all right, fine. You have me there. That was fatty
pork that bad?
The kind this, like pork butt. It's like that's why pulled pork is so good. There's so much fat in it.
It's all about the cut of meat. Like it's just even with chicken, right? Like you want to eat the white meat, not the dark meat.
Yeah, and I ate mostly breast. No, I did. I did eat both thighs. It
depends what you're trying to avoid, right? If it's calories or fat or whatever. But in the case of that big pork butt, I would think that there's a lot of fat in there. That's the part that tastes good.
Mm-hmm. I was hitting my protein macros every day. Not a very efficient track there, taking the scenic route, but I made it. It's so much fun. Like this is the kind. As I was doing it, I was like, I am blown away that like this is something Woody's never mentioned to me before. Because I was like, this seems like the kind of thing Woody would enjoy. Like I know you're not a big cooking guy. I'm not either. But like the ease of it, plus the result being like fucking restaurant quality, literally better than restaurant quality. I'm blown away. So much cheaper. It's great. Everybody's got to get in the smoking game.
I don't know about that.
How much was your smoker?
$700.
No, you're saving. You're practically making money.
Yeah,
you're taking it.
Paid for itself.
Yeah.
in 39 years.
When
get the one with the Wi-Fi thing so that you can do it. You can change it from your phone. I did. I was like, I'm like, my wife's like cleaning the kitchen. I'm like, I'm cooking 2:30. Like, just changing.
I cook, you clean. You're like,
exactly. No, you have to clean the grill. That's part of the cleaning.
When you started talking about it, I started looking at smokers on Facebook Marketplace. And I immediately came across those like pull behind a truck smoker businesses, and I'm like, in for a penny, in for a pound.
What if me and 60 of my closest friends ever want to have a party?
They're $2,500. It's it's a whole trailer. It's literally a barbecue business on wheels that you can park on the side of the road and sell barbecue. Because I've seen those guys doing that. And then there was that giant one shaped like a bull itself. I don't know if I'm gonna get into any smoking necessarily. I've never done it.
You like cooking?
Yeah, I do like cooking, but I don't need another like $1,000 worth of cooking implements to cook a meal that I shouldn't eat.
Well, when you can make anything sound bad if you put it like that.
I'm also not in the market for an ice cream churn.
I'm not either. That would be ridiculous.
I already have an ice cream churn.
They already have an ice cream churn. You jump the gun. No smoker, and you have an ice cream churn.
I don't need more ice cream.
I've also got a bread maker. It does everything.
Used one of those.
You literally pour the ingredients in.
A bread maker. It does everything. No, I'm pretty sure it does one thing.
No. It makes other things. I swear to God, I got the best bread maker. You don't even. There's no steps anymore. Like you pour the ingredients in and press go. And it first like kneads the ingredients into a loaf, and then it bakes it into bread
that you like slice up. Can you set it
to
different kinds of bread?
Any kind you want.
If you want like a loaf of sourdough,
I can make a giant pretzel. I can make a giant thing of sourdough bread that I slice for sandwiches. I just don't need a lot of bread because it's not,
Have you ever made sourdough?
Yeah, that's exactly what
I love sourdough.
It's my favorite bread.
That's probably the creme de la creme of bread.
I think it's the best bread.
Yeah, I think
it's the king of breads.
It's king of breads for sure. Like There was a brief time, like 6 years
Sourdough?
ago, I feel like, where a couple different fast food places figured out, like, dude, we could just throw sourdough on this and a bunch of retards will buy it. And I was one of them.
I was one of them too. Yeah.
Yeah. They got me with the
Right.
sourdough.
Yeah.
You don't
Hardy's
like
had
sourdough, Woody?
I do. I think I've had like hamburgers on sourdough. I've had things on. I didn't realize how much I like sourdough. You're trying to sell it. I never really paid attention to my bread.
think
My
loaves
bread.
of it.
Sometimes the bread they give you before you eat is extraordinarily good. It's probably not even technically bread. I bet it has sugar in it. That's why I like it.
Mhm.
But sourdough, solid bread. What's the king of cheeses?
Oh, that's hard. There's so many different things. Depends
I'm
what
talking to
you're
a
getting
subject
at.
matter expert. Come on.
I mean, I really on charcuterie boards, like I find you get a lot of versatility with like different kinds of Gouda, whether it's smoked or just different forms of Gouda. It'll go with every different kind of meat very well. I don't like, sometimes people will like bring a charcuterie board to events and they've got sharp cheddar on it. And it's like, the fuck? That's going to dominate the flavor of anything I try to pair it with. Medium cheddar at most, if you're a peon. Like, bring me like a custom kind of cheddar, maybe a jalapeno cheddar, something with a little bit of kick to it, a little bit
Do you
of
have
flavor.
anything cave aged?
Yeah, do you have anything cave aged, idiot?
So Zach wrote mozzarella, and that was my knee-jerk reaction too. Mozzarella is the king of cheeses. If I could only have one, that's what would be in my omelet, which doesn't actually have cheese. That's what would be on my burger. That, like, if I could only have one cheese, mozzarella is a solid cheese. It doesn't ruin anything, and it has the right consistency, and you can cook it.
I do like
However,
mozzarella.
There's a world for a spicy jack cheese. You know, a pepper jack cheese. You put that on a chicken sandwich or something,
What's
and it's
that?
the star of the show.
What's that
Mhm.
powdery stuff you get with mac and cheese in the little packet?
Cheese flavored powder.
Rumor about cheese.
All jokes aside, I bought a 1 pound tub of that. I have a 1 pound. Yeah,
Dude, someone kidnapped a food scientist, kept him in a dungeon his entire life, and then described cheese through the grates of his cell, and that's what he came up with.
Dude, it's so good. I just remember, like as a kid, I really liked those like little box mac and cheese things. I like that delicious whatever that cheese is they put in there. It's tasty, but I always wanted double cheese. I'd always be like, "Mom, can we have double cheese?" And she's like, "Well, these cost $0.25, so yeah, absolutely."
Yeah.
And so she'd just take the cheese out of another one and make double cheese mac and cheese. And
then,
as an adult, I wanted to be able to have that anytime. So I bought this tub of cheddar cheese powder for the low price of $14.99, thanks to Amazon. And now my cheese problems are solved.
So your vote would be for gourmet cheese powder, upturning the votes. Okay. Well,
It is the finest cheese powder on the market today.
how about no? Parmesan isn't a standalone cheese. It makes pizza so much better, but it's making the mozzarella better. The mozzarella's carrying the workload for the pizza there. And the toppings, obviously.
Only 35
mostly the cheese. Only 35 calories per tablespoon of cheese powder that you eat.
I
Gritty.
just dry scoop my cheese.
Try scoop.
It's a charcuterie board. There's a little like a transparent spoon that goes
That's
with
some good
it.
cheese.
That's Kyle's charcuterie board. Cheese powder. And you remember that beef jerky dip you could buy out of the can
Yep.
from gas stations as a kid? I remember thinking I was like, cool, when my grandparents would buy me that. Like, because all the, in the country there, everyone dipped. My grandparents smoked, they didn't dip it. Everyone around them, like all the other old people, dipped. So I just felt like a big kid doing it. But I didn't know to hold it in my lip. I just ate small bits of beef jerky at a time.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would do anything if you put it in your lip. Probably just kind of
It'll just hurt your lip because there's a lot of salt in there and preservatives. So it really just dries out a little spot in your mouth and it hurts real bad.
because you threw a fat chaw of beef jerky in.
I'm just guessing. Yeah, we grew up with that shit and the bubble gum that's like the Big League Chew.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Grape,
And,
those are the best flavor.
I had this super distinct memory of being in the grocery store at like 4 years old and being so upset that I was like, there was Gushers and fruit by the foot, like there's fruit roll-ups. And I was like, Gushers or fruit roll-ups? In my head, I in the head of a 4-year-old, what I'm saying is, Mom, pick one of these. There is no other end to how this goes. So when she rolled away, it was one of the most heartbreaking moments of my young life as a 4-year-old, and it's forever cemented in my mind. And I was like, Gushers and fruit roll-ups, and she was just like, neither. And
Neither.
the fact that could happen was
She
a new thing.
thumped you on the forehead. It's neither.
hope not.
Idiot. That'd be funny. But seriously, back to cheese. What do you really think is the best cheese?
I usually get pepper jack if I'm like getting cheese on a sandwich and there's like multiple options. I'll get a pepper jack cheese. I like spicy stuff and I like cheese that melts, so I go with that. If I'm going to put something on a charcuterie board, it would be wildfire blue cheese, that fancy blue cheese that I'm obsessed with, that I could eat a block of it. If I just had a roll of Ritz crackers, a butter knife, and like that cheese, I'm going to win this one way or another.
I'm not as high on blue cheese as you. I'm not as big on blue. You know, it's a fancy man cheese, or at least in my opinion, it is Gruyere. Do you like Gruyere cheese on those charcuterie boards? That's really good. I've
never had a cheese. I can picture the Gruyere that I get. It's boar's head, and it's really good. I like Havarti. I haven't made a charcuterie board in a long time. I haven't made a charcuterie board in a long time because, for one thing, they get pretty expensive because you can't just buy like 3 ounces of cheese when you want a fancy cheese to go on your board. You've got to go and buy like a whole fucking thing of it. And some of these cheeses are like $15, $20 for like one block. And quickly, you've spent $140 on tonight's charcuterie board that's meant to be like an appetizer. And you're like, if I just make a meal of it, then I haven't wasted so much goddamn money.
Oh, I have been down that road many a time. Yeah, where my wife and I have done that together. She likes charcuterie boards too, not quite as much as I do, but she knows I like them so much and she likes making me happy that she'll just sometimes surprise me and just like make a charcuterie board. And she'll be like, it's just a little one. And I'm like, first of all, there's no way this is less than $100. Like, and second of all, like, I know you're making it for me because look at how heavy the meat side is in relation. Like if this were a party, they'd be like, you didn't buy enough cheese or crackers, but like it's like the meat's I'm double siding the meat. Sometimes I'll put the cracker down, the cheese, a piece of meat,
just and then brisket from the smoker.
Yeah, it's a brisket.
It's the best charcuterie board ever.
You take the cracker, you put the cheese, you put the piece of meat you have, then you grab a piece of prosciutto, you wrap it around the whole thing, and now you got a little. Now it's not.
It's called a sandwich, you asshole. Just get a slice. Look. At this point, I feel like you should just go get a loaf of bread and just cut out the whole middleman of making these little. Oh, I'm a fancy hors d'oeuvre man. I don't have a problem.
Like, no, that would shatter the illusion.
Get a big 12-inch loaf and go to work.
Dude, I like just wake up with the crumbs all over me, and there's like 8 empty papers from a deli all around me. I've done that before. Like I've said, I went through a phase where like I was waking up at like 3 a.m, getting hungry all the time. And I don't do this anymore, but I would like go. And if we had salami, I would just go to the kitchen and like eat some of it and just kind of stand there at the fridge, eat a little salami, and then go back to bed. And like realized like a week into that, like, damn, you're not losing any weight anymore, bro. Like you're like gaining weight again. And so I've cut that out. I also no more peanut butter late at night for me. I've cut out the peanut butter.
Calories in that, I think.
There's an enormous amount. Like you were saying with the blue cheese, if we had a competition that was like, pick your brand, like not crunchy, creamy's better, but I would wolf down a whole one of those. Like however much is in those 20 ounces, I could do it. I think that's the kind of food that if you eat that much, you might actually go to the hospital.
It will be dangerous. I think
it could be like, it might actually blow my pancreas out. Right. Because it's just a huge amount
such a disgusting shit after eating an entire jar of peanut butter that you'd reevaluate your life choices.
Dude, I bet it wouldn't smell like shit. I bet it would be reminiscent.
Peanut butter smelling poop.
the same way like White Castle shits. Like it just becomes a fouler version of White Castle.
Or crab.
That's fair.
Maybe it's just that you're eating way too much of one thing. If you're concentrating your bowel movements into a solid mass of crab or cheese or peanut butter.
Dude, that'd be so funny if it's like people, this whole time, people have been like, no, we don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, when you eat 31 White Castles and then the next day you have to call into work and you just lay there all day and rethink everything. But then that night, if time passes, and you get hungry again, so you have a whole thing of Jif.
I'm doing a mini cut right now. I just want to lose 3 pounds. 3 pounds, and I'll be back in my happy place again. So, nice. I was like, the last 5 days, I'm killing it. Yesterday, maybe got killed. Maybe. I'm not saying that I had Chinese food at night and then some chips and salsa, but no one was looking.
Now you just need to do like a full 24-hour fast and you're done. See, that's how I look at these little scenarios. It's like instead of dieting for 10 or 15 days to lose 3 pounds.
Right.
Let's just starve ourselves for 3 straight.
I fasted all day. I fasted all day yesterday. I felt so bad from the amount of shit I ate this weekend out of the smoker that like yesterday, like breakfast, lunch, dinner came and went. Like it was like 10. My wife's going to bed. She's like, "Have you eaten anything today?" I'm like, "No, I don't feel great." Like, and so I, took a break
from eating.
But it wasn't.
You're like an apex. You're like one of those apex predators. They're like, he will not feast again for a fortnight.
Literally, I'm like a cold-blooded croc. I just had a goat, and I'm good for No, I did. But it wasn't willpower the way you do it. It was like I just felt so bad. Like my stomach just felt horrible. Like it was one of those times where, like, have you ever thought about eating something that you shouldn't, and like you get a visceral feeling about it? Like if you just ate a huge amount of like pizza or something that like gives like, and then like you think about eating more because you want the taste of it, and then your stomach will like respond like psychosomatically, like no, bitch, like almost like you shouldn't be having that. You've never had that?
I think you're describing like some sort of sci-fi element where you have 2 brains. And one of them is in your stomach, and it's sort of calling the shots, and you have to argue with it. It's what it sounds like.
It could be. You could be right, but I think people know what I'm talking about.
You're saying that your stomach communicates with you when it sees foods it doesn't like.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was way off at first. I misunderstood. I thought it was something silly.
Yeah. Now who appears the fool?
Dude, how many games up are the Abs right now? I can't count.
2-1.
2-1. Oh, okay.
Right,
Tampa Bay got a win.
Last night, Tampa smoked them 6-2.
But they got smoked 7-0 the game before. It's funny how
it's been so back and forth.
No, well, okay. I guess it's 2-1.
Now it has. It wasn't initially.
Yeah, at first. What was the score of the first game? I remember it not being super close.
I think it was like 5-3 or something, 5-2.
Okay.
Just really,
but 7-0 is an embarrassment. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, is Tampa Bay allowed to play anymore? Like, like, what if they get hurt? That's what I used to worry about. Whenever I saw a huge mismatch, it's like, it's not safe out there for that other team.
Oh, yeah. This series is getting so good. Like, you wouldn't expect these teams to dislike each other that much, but they clearly have like some interpersonal beef on a certain level, like some of the stars between each other, like Kucherov on the Lightning, and I think it's Landeskog on the Avalanche, like really seem to fucking hate each other. And it's like the next 4 games potentially are going to be tremendous because like Tampa's now looking like Tampa Bay. Vasilevsky is once again playing like the best goalie in the world, which he is. The goalie for Colorado, Darcy Kemper, he got chased from the net last night. Very bad news. And then their backup came in, and he actually did pretty well. He saved 9 out of 10. And so now that's a new problem for Colorado is like, what are they going to do? Because if they decide to stick with the better backup goalie, that your starting goalie's confidence is ruined. Goalies are like neurotic weirdos. Like if you fuck with their confidence, like he's not going to come back and be what he was before. So I think they might just roll with their starter again. And if he shits the bed, they're going to pull him and be like Frank Kuz or whatever the backup's name is your series now. But yeah, if Tampa can keep the pressure up and like keep shots, even if Tampa can get 75% as many shots as Colorado, they're going to win the fucking series because Colorado's
shut out the game before. Worse. Like he shouldn't be. Well, I'll trust your judgment.
But that was like
crazy.
That was like a lot of that was Tampa playing the worst game they've played in the last 3 years. Like I think they had like the number of shots they had. Yeah, was the number of shots they had was in the teens. Like I think Colorado had like 40 something shots.
For people that don't know, shots a hockey game, maybe 34 is kind of lowish and 40 is high. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like
teams,
so
it's like
it's
like a football team that got 6 points that game. Like it's just super low.
Yeah. Like that's wild. It'd be like a baseball player not getting a hit in fucking 20 at bats. a guy who was supposed to be good, not getting one with 20.
By the way,
Yeah.
that's so funny when it happens when you've got a guy in a streak like that because everybody knows it. The announcers know it. The fans know it.
It's a psychological game.
And so it'll get prolonged. The fans have the fans have signs that'll be like, 0 for 19, and as soon as you strike out, they're ready to roll that 20 right up on the board, and they're chanting and screaming and being shitty about it. Yeah, I've seen guys do that. It's really funny when they're, I don't know, whenever someone's close to a stat in baseball, because baseball is so stat driven. If somebody's getting close to batting for the cycle, or somebody's close to pitching a no hitter or something, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it.
There's no sport as like intimidating to look at like the stat line than baseball. If you're like trying to understand a sport, like if I go to a running backs page, I don't know shit about football. I'm going to know what those things mean. Oh, that's rushing yards. How many yards he rushed? Like, I get that. Like, you go to baseball and it'll be like, this is his PTPTPO percentage. And it's
I
like,
don't know. And to be fair, I don't know that stuff.
I just made that up, but it will literally be like, this is the percentage of time he hits. The percentage of time he hits the ball and makes it to second in a winning game. And it's like, what ACT question are you about to ask me like about this? Because, and like this, you're right about the stats. Cause like, I'll see that on like Twitter, or people will make fun of like baseball stat guys who will be like, Albert Pujols is the first Major League Baseball player to hit a home run after playing 10 years in St. Louis, 7 years in LA, and then return to St. Louis on a Wednesday. Historic for St. Louis. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's like, these are not real stats.
And with the with the advent of the radar guns just everywhere now, like now you know the speed the ball's coming off the bat, and you know the speed that the fielders are even throwing the ball, which is a new thing for me. I saw
fun.
I saw the guy break the record for speed of a ball thrown by an infielder this year. Some shortstop threw one 96.4 last night or the night before.
How fast does an outfielder throw it?
Not that fast, I guess.
Okay, I thought he might rival a pitcher.
I don't know.
It's range, right?
I don't know if they radar them. The fact that they're like checking the speed on the infielders was a new thing to me. I just saw it last night on ESPN.
Hasn't baseball done that a lot, or for many years?
Well, always with the pitcher, obviously, but they were checking the speed on the shortstop throwing the ball to first to like strike to get somebody out, and it did look like a rocket. Like you could. I was like, oh my god, that was fast. Like that did not look like a normal throw. Like 2 or 3 more miles per hour is so much with a baseball. It seems like, I don't know.
They just like everything, hockey's so far behind. They just now in like the last 2 years added the speed clock to shots so that you can see how hard a shot was. And this guy, I think it was like 2 games earlier in this series, this Colorado defenseman or forward blocked a shot from a guy and it showed 98 miles an hour, and like it hit him in the leg, and he like had to like have a teammate like push him so he could like glide off on the 1 foot. And it was like, oh my god, like there should,
you know what they'll never show?
Kind of bonus or something for that.
You know what they'll never show is fucking put a G-force measurement thing in their head in their helmets.
No, they will not.
Never do that, because I guarantee in football these guys are hitting some numbers that would stagger you. Yeah. like, oh, look at that! He hit 20 G's for a split second. I can't believe his brain didn't come out of his eyes.
Like, they do it in Formula One racing. They'll tell you how many G's the crash was. Verstappen had a crash at 50 G's last year.
I didn't even know you could survive that.
Well, it's a split second, right? And he's not. That's insane.
Yeah, it was a big deal, if I recall. What happened was he's in a very close race over the course of the season with Lewis Hamilton. These two were trying to go. Lewis Hamilton's going for his 8th world championship. Verstappen's going for his 1st. And all season long, they were like trading who's winning in the standings. And then Hamilton hit Verstappen and knocked him out of the race. I'm not good enough at doing F1 analysis to say if he did a bad thing or not. People disagreed about it. So let's just say it was controversial. Anyway, Verstappen got hurt, went to the hospital after a 50G crash, and Lewis Hamilton was like dancing and celebrating on the podium. And then that's why the G's made like such a big impression on everybody. Like, this guy's in the hospital shaking his head clear, and you're, shaking your champagne bottle.
What happened? Like, what was he like in the hospital for like weeks?
He turned out he was able to race the next race. I don't know if they usually have 1 or 2 weeks in between, and I don't recall, but he was more or less okay. Just shaken up, checked out.
Did either of you watch any of the fights from the Fight Night card that Joe was supposed to be on this weekend?
I did actually.
He wasn't on the card.
Joe didn't make the card. Joe's knee locked up. It's a thing that happens to him throughout his career, and it got unlocked like toward the end of the night. Like I think maybe if it was a softball game he was trying to make and not like a ESPN event, like they'd have just put him in. But it was a really good night of fights. Like there were so many knockouts that I saw a montage of like these were the knockouts from tonight. And it was just like, holy shit, it's a minute-long video from the night. Because every single fight, almost, like don't get me wrong, there were some that went to decision. But a tremendous amount of them, maybe 7, 8, were knockouts. And good knockouts at that. It was fun. It was a fun night of fights.
I agree. It was a really fun night of fights. Whoever put that card together did a great job. The only challenge is this. There are 2 things that make a fight really fun to watch for me. One is what happens during the fight. That's the obvious. And on that, they delivered huge. The other is like the stakes, the consequence, the story behind it, like the build up to it. And on that, I guess I knew most of these fighters, but like they weren't title contenders. They were all sort of hoping to get noticed, maybe get a better fight because of this win. Like that's the status of all these fights. They were preseason games. Yeah.
So for those who don't know, you've got to pay for ESPN Plus to have the privilege to buy pay-per-views. But if you have ESPN Plus, they throw you some free cards called like Fight Nights. And this is one of them. And there's quite a bit of them.
Free.
Well, you're already paying like the subscription service, but they just pop up on ESPN. You don't have to click any more buttons. Whereas normally if I want to watch McGregor fight, I think they want like $70, $75 from me on top of everything else now per fight. It's pretty
Whereas
shitty.
it's free, but as in like Amazon Prime is free. It's included in your subscription.
Yeah, $8 a month or whatever it costs. But I thought it was a good night of fights. I agree with you completely. They need to work on the WWE element of the sport just a smidge. Like I like when there are storylines. I want to say that they need more storylines. I like whenever this guy doesn't like that guy for an actual reason. When you've got people like Masvidal and Colby Covington, it's clear that like it's not all like, all right, what you want to run through lines tonight, brother? You ready to run through their lines? All right. Fuck you and your whore wife. Like that's not what's happening here. This guy got assaulted in the streets. Like some of these guys legitimately have beefs, and when that's the case, it's neat. And then there's a guy like Israel Adesanya who, like, I heard him speak recently, and he explained like why he fights, and he's just like, I'm there to show out. I want to knock people out in cool ways. I want to do techniques nobody's ever done before and knock people out. I want to kick people like this and I'm like, God damn, I hate you. You're so good. he's so good at what he does. Like he's one of my favorite fighters now for sure to watch because he really does do what he says. He tries to knock people out in fun ways and do fun, interesting things.
Yeah.
I'm looking. I don't know what they're gonna do with Joe.
Did you hear they said they weren't going to reschedule it?
I saw that come out of Dana's mouth. I saw him say
a solid point. I see the inference there.
Yeah.
Sometimes Dana says things. It's not always his last thought on it.
You know, I read through a bunch of threads and stuff, and it seemed like the fan interpretation was that, like, I don't know, a lot of people were like, come on, just do it a third. I think it's a fourth time now. Like schedule a fourth time for Cowboy and Joe. And then some were like, they've missed it 3 times. Now they're getting fed to hungry 25-year-olds. And it's like, maybe. But that's what they tried to do to Joe his last fight out. And he TKO'd that guy like a round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he has to TKO another guy in a round and, get back up to the... Well, no, it doesn't sound like it was just a Joe thing. Like Cerrone would have to fight the young guys as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta do something with them. You don't have to. You can do anything you want in that sport.
Yeah.
It's hard to gauge how good the legends are, right? Like, I guess this happens in every sport. Joe knocked out the last hungry guy that tried to make a name off of him. Now he's up against Cerrone, another legend. It's hard to see where he stack ranks in the field.
Cerrone in particular is this really interesting case of someone whose star has like I don't know, fallen so far from where it was just a year or two ago when they gave him McGregor. Like that was, he must be like McGregor came back after one of his many layoffs, like 2 years out, and it's like, who is he going to fight? Donald Cerrone. If I'm Donald Cerrone, I'm kissing Dana White's ass. Like that's such a cool fight to get. Now it turned out Conor just smoked him in less, I don't know, half a round, 60 seconds, 90. But he's gone from basically fighting Conor McGregor, which might be the best deal in all of MMA. Like getting to fight Conor McGregor. It's what everyone wants to do, regardless of your weight class. And now it's like he's 3 times now he's missed this fight to fight Joe, which is clearly going to be both of their last fights.
I'm looking at his record. He's losing a lot, but a lot of these guys are okay to lose from. So he lost to Tony Ferguson, but this is before Tony was a chump. He lost to Justin Gaethje. Dude, no disrespect there. He lost to McGregor. Now I fuss at McGregor, but he's a great fighter. He lost to Pettis. Yeah, that's a tough day at the office. No contest, Nico Price. And then Alex Morano, I don't even really know him. He lost to him. So like you said, he's fallen. But some of these fights on the losing streak, like 90% of the roster would lose.
Did you see all the stuff about Cerrone being racist to that one fighter? I can't remember the...
No.
And also be like, I keep hearing bad stuff about Cerrone. It's almost like somebody's got a PR firm after him. I'm hearing so much of it.
People who took down Madison Cawthorn after Donald Cerrone.
Like for real, I'm getting so much of it like piped into like the places that I look.
Well, he plays a heel, doesn't he?
No,
right? Or no?
No.
Oh, never mind.
He is a heel, I guess, because like everything I see is like there was the thing where he was with Bilzerian, right? And they had like taken Anthony Smith's like mom's seats from her at the fight. Like another fighter's fighting, and his mom is in her special seats. And supposedly Donald Cerrone and Dan Bilzerian were like, "Move, bitch!" Like we're trying to do a thing here, and like she had some kind of trouble with them. But then like some other fighter who's a black fighter was talking about Donald being racist to him and saying like, "I know how black people steal," and all this other stuff to his face. And then he was also talking about how Donald is like grabbing everybody's like wives and girlfriends right in front of him and saying, what are they going to do? What was it? And then, of course, we all know about Donald assaulting that man at the lake that time.
Yeah. The lake thing, I had heard Cerrone's version of it. And it's a little hard to believe. Like, I'm just laying there with my girl having a great time. This guy splashes us with this boat and comes over and kicks sand on me and my girl. And, man, I just wanted to read this romance novel and I kept disrupting me. And I'm kind of making some shit up, but it's not far from that.
So what'd you do then, Donald?
Yeah, and it's like, well, then he hit me, but kind of an alpha. So I dodged, I parried, I head kicked him and knocked him out cold. And it's like, you
all
these the whole arsenal.
Donald Cerrone called out a guy who splashed, who like made waves lap a little too hard at the lake. Knowing that like he doesn't look like the scariest guy ever, but then he kicked that guy in the head and knocked him the fuck out because that's a thing that fighters can do.
Yes. I love that phrasing, Kyle.
Well, I mean, Cerrone, he's already almost 40 years old and he's a professional fighter. He's got 8 to 11 more years of like being able to form sentences. Like, well,
I talked to Joe about that once, Joe Lozon, and I think I have this exactly right. He's like, I'm like wicked smart. I could lose 5%. I'm still fine. Like, all right.
Well, Joe is very, very smart.
He is, yeah.
It's not, yeah.
Well, I like that he made the calculation. Like, I could drop 5%. It's cool.
That's how CTE works. It's like a video game where it goes down a little bit, your IQ, but then you eat some potatoes and it goes back up.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope he gets this fight.
Fundamentally damaging the fascia in your brain that allows neurons to connect.
I don't think it works that way either. I would be worried about getting hit in the head. I don't know.
Yeah, anyone should. You can fuck up your whole life with like what seems like just a normal bonk on the head.
I'll never forget fucking like it made an impression on me growing up. My mother's teacher and one of all the teachers in a school are like really close. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, I can't think of anyway. One of my mom's friends who also taught, her son was a few years older than me. And like, I remember I was in like middle school and he was going off to college. And the first thing he did, I guess he had this big banister and he tried to slide down it and fell like 15 feet and hit his head. And he was never the same person again. Like there was, it's like, okay, we're dropping out of college and going back home now to be taken care of. It was that situation.
Yeah. So like he couldn't function on his own.
No, Jake was not Jake anymore. Jake died that day, like from that bump on the head.
What was the new guy like?
Probably didn't
Come
say
on, Woody,
much.
you know what the new guy was
I
like.
don't
Woody?
actually. Was he aggressive, or was he like just a little paralyzed? Like, was he a vegetable?
He was retarded. He was retarded,
Oh.
and you had to help him get around and
Okay.
like feed him and stuff. And he liked to go outside and stare into the sun a lot. That was his main pastime.
I mean, that's
He
not a
loved that.
not a long-term hobby.
You'd be surprised. He could do it all
That's a
day.
hobby that solves itself.
No, I don't. I was in middle school, so obviously my mom wasn't going to be like, he can't wipe himself now. But like in a nice way, she was like, Jake isn't Jake anymore. It was that kind of thing. And I don't know. Like I never heard anything else. That was 15, 20 years ago or something like that now when I was in middle school.
Oh.
So I don't know. But little head injuries like that popped in my head then. It's like, oh shit, you can like bust your ass skateboarding and never be you again.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I always wore helmets when I could.
I wear helmets now still. They make fun of me around the neighborhood.
Nerd.
But it's funny, like, dude, young Woody thought safety was stupid. Like dumb. I hated safety. If you told me, Woody, there's two cars, they're pretty much the same, but one's safer, I'd be like, that sounds fucking lame. I bet there's something about it they had to compromise on for safety. I'll take the one that didn't make those compromises. Adult me is like, have you ever been really injured? It puts a huge damper on everything. Like it this whole day, like we could wait a little longer or we could get an injury. That injury is like even if it's a little life-changing, even if you're like, I'm pretty much fine, but my elbow only goes this high now. That's a big fucking deal.
Yeah. No more basketball. No more.
I've been watching those survival stories.
The more lifting.
They're like, I shouldn't be alive shit.
Oh yeah.
These little injuries that like it in a weird way, it made me want to go on one of these long hikes, like 100-mile hike. But also at the same time, like I'm watching these two men who are like 30s brothers go hiking into a canyon. One of them like falls and hurts his leg, compound fracture, not a compound fracture, but it's a multi-fracture, like 6 breaks on the same leg. He's not going anywhere. 5 hours back to the truck. Send the little brother. Little brother's 25 or 30 back to the truck. He runs past the turn in the canyon that he's supposed to take and starts like going through shit that he never had seen before. Like he's going down into holes and swimming. He's swimming across like he's going down into a
we didn't swim
canyon.
on the way here. What do you think?
Finally, that occurs to him. I don't remember swimming to get here. And I don't remember climbing up over those boulders that I just climbed down. He has to climb back up over like some ridiculous rocks. By the time he gets up, he's all fucked up, dehydrated, and cold from the water.
Yeah.
26 hours it takes him to make a 5-hour walk.
And
brother loses the leg. He had like fracture blisters popping up, like where like all the blood vessels of the leg are broken, and it's just oozing fluid through the skin. Like
that's horrible.
Like maybe they save it in 10 hours, but it'd been 26 hours is what it took to get to him.
That sucks.
Brother lost him. Another guy. I wish that I could they do that interview thing. They go back and forth, and you can tell they fucking hate each other. This guy lied to his buddy and told him he knew how to kayak. They're going on a kayaking trip, not down some little river. Like they're right by the ocean. They're going out.
Clear, they hate
island.
each other now, not at the time of the trip.
They were competitive then to a toxic level.
Okay.
And so guy A says, "Hey, you want to go kayaking with me? I'm going out to the islands. They're going from the mainland to some islands, and apparently it's a pretty strenuous thing to do." He's like, "Yeah, anything you can do, I can do better, bitch." He's like, "Okay." The guy had never been in a kayak before. He didn't know there were foot pedals. Like he's taking on water.
I didn't know there were foot pedals in a kayak.
I didn't either, but they go into a whole thing about it. Long story, not to like pump. I think there's some sort of like steering.
Maybe a rudder.
Yeah. Long story short, on the way back, they get to the campsite. This guy's got all cotton. None of his gear will work. like everything he has is cotton. And the guy's like, everything you have is cotton. Like the reenactor is great. You have nothing but cotton. How about this? I'll fucking get here. Put my clothes on. No, put my clothes on. Like he's putting him in his sleeping bag naked so he can just dry off. And he's sitting there in the rain in his actual weatherproof gear just to keep this man alive for the night. The next day it's time to go back. And he's like, all right, there's 3 options, Billy Badass. We can make the short trek to this island over here. There's a cabin there. We can ask for help. Or we can make this slightly longer trip, leave the boats there and take the ferry back. I'll come pick the boats up tomorrow. Or we can try to go back to the mainland. We have to fight the current because it's going to be trying to suck us out to sea the whole time. It's a 40-minute paddle, and I mean digging. I can do any of these. Which would you like to do? And then they go to the reenactor who had spoken.
This guy.
They go to him, the one who had spoken those words. He goes, "That was just fucking stupid," because I knew what he was going to do. They try to make the paddle back. Dude's taking on water, and the guy who actually knows how to kayak makes a decision. I'm leaving him. He leaves him. He leaves him. Goes all the way to shore. The guy gets swept out. Eventually sinks because he doesn't know how to kayak. You're supposed to pierce the wave in a kayak so the water doesn't lap over the sides and get in. He sinks and he has to swim now.
Tread water. He's not going to beat the current.
He's swimming into the current trying to make it to other islands. He's island hopping.
Can he not just be pushed back to where he was before?
He's being pulled to the sea.
He probably has a life preserver on.
I think he has a life preserver on.
Yeah.
He eventually swam to an island, and they still like he's like, he should have never left me. And the other guy's like, if I hadn't left him, we'd have both died. And they're still friends. And then it showed a new picture, and they're there kayaking together. Nobody's smiling.
I like these guys.
They're just
what a bizarre friendship.
When they interviewed the asshole, the one I took to be the asshole, the one who came with cotton gear and lied and said he could when he couldn't. He's just like, I'm an alpha male. All right. You say you can run a marathon, I'll run 2. You say you can lift 100 pounds, I'll do 200. So when he said he wanted to go kayaking, I told him I could.
Dude, I have friends like, maybe not to that level, but like I'm relating to elements of this. Like I went on a motorcycle trip with 2 other guys, and I'm not even sure like who did the best that trip. I'll let you decide. There was one guy who was clearly faster than the other 2. He was maybe he's faster than the other 2. Maybe I exaggerated the gap. He crashed 5 times. Then there was me. I was the second fastest guy. I crashed once. And then there was my other friend. He didn't crash at all, but he was the slowest. Who was the most skilled rider?
Well, it sounds like you are, but
I don't know. I got beat all day.
I value not crashing at all.
Yeah, right? The guy who didn't crash at all, I got to give him the edge there.
Oh, there's an argument for that, for sure. Anyway, I can somewhat relate to these absolute imbeciles.
These people who like that's why watching their survival stories made me still want to go on like a long hike or a canyon exploration type thing. Because I'm not as stupid as they are. Jesus, they're just such idiots. I think I told Taylor, I'm like, the main reason these people die in the wilderness is because their friends have bitch in their blood. Yeah. There were 2 guys in the jungle, and one said he had to take a piss. And he's like, and of course, when you got to take a piss in a campsite, you walk 50. I like to walk 50 yards away. And I'm like, wait, what?
50 yards?
Yeah. And he's afraid to pee in the river because that's where they get their water. It's a river. As if his piss is going to taint the river. He said these words. He walks 50 yards away, and he's like trying to climb over a boulder for like extra privacy in the night, by the way. It's just him and his buddy in the Bolivian jungle. Like, this guy must have the most embarrassing looking genitalia.
Dude, if I were out in the woods, if we were camping together, I would pee while holding your hand.
Yeah. Oh,
that's how far I want to go from the side.
Pea buddies, let's go.
Pea buddies, let's go. Kyle and I are both going to go 50 feet this way.
No, we'll go back to back when we shit. We'll just lean against each other. I got no problem with that.
Depending on what I've been eating, you might be there as my buddy for a while.
It turns into like a wall stand, like lower body activity.
I'm like, I'm sorry, Kyle. I know I'm putting a lot of this weight on you, but I got to push.
Oh, God. Anyway, he went to go piss behind the boulder, and the boulder rolled over onto him, crushing his leg and pinning him beneath it. I stopped watching that one because I wished he had died. I'm like, you're here in the interview, so I know you made it somehow. Yeah. You should have died, though.
Don't you wish you just peed like a normal person?
Like a normal person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are great, though. They're on YouTube for free.
If you're pooping, I shouldn't be alive. Don't be rude. Go far away.
That sounds good. I should watch some. Dude, I know we're like 10 minutes over. C90 Adventures. If you are at all interested in motorcycle adventures, and I know most of you are probably not turned on by this, he does such a good job. First of all, his motorcycle is terrible. It's a 90cc motorcycle, and but he likes it because he can fix it himself on the side of a road. It's incredibly not complicated, and I think it's about 9 horsepower. Maybe he hasn't modified to like 12. It's a joke, but his current trip goes from Alaska to Argentina. Right? Do you know how far that is?
God,
right? And he found a girl at one point in his older videos.
Is that like 10,000 miles?
It sounds right. It's outrageous. He makes my trips look stupid. He and this girl run around for a while, and like they're touring together. They seemed perfect on camera, but they do break up. And he's like, "Why don't you just trust that we spent like 12,000 hours together, and we know better than you do from watching our videos that it's the right call."
Yeah.
Okay. You made a strong point, but you did look so perfect on camera. And but like he does tours in Vietnam. He's ridden like in every country. He's amazing. C90 Adventures. He's really good at motorcycles, but what makes him great is he's a great editor, a video maker. He does voiceovers and real time and sort of splices it together to tell a story about his trip. And that's what hooks me.
Nice. I actually might look at that. That's an insane drive from Alaska through
That's
the
wild.
Northwest Territories, down through the Eastern Seaboard, and then I don't know how many countries it is from Mexico to Argentina.
Countless. Yeah.
Bunches.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty, and he'll be like, he's been on so many like death highways now. He rates which ones actually like stack up as very deadly or not. He's like, they call this a death highway, but I've been on deadlier. But this one has like tombstones.
Do you know how far
along
that
the
is, Zach?
side.
Is there anywhere that says like the distance that's being traveled there?
Oh, there it is. 48,000 kilometers. Oh, 30,000 miles. Good.
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
I was way off.
It's
Yeah,
too many.
I don't know if he started in Prudhoe Bay exactly or not, but yeah, 30,000 miles is a decent estimate.
That's more than the circumference of the Earth.
I believe you. I don't know the numbers, but I believe you.
What's the circumference of the Earth is 24,000 miles.
Oh, well then, yeah, this is like 1.5.
It's easy. Isn't it interesting how the math works out so easily? The Earth is 24,000 miles around. It rotates at 1,000 miles an hour, so we have 24-hour days.
Yeah, there must be an omnipotent creator from the Middle East about 2,000 years ago set all this up. Well, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. 4,000, right?
Two.
If we're going Old Testament back.
Oh, we're talking about the creation times? It's like 60.
No, that'd be like 6, right? Like they say, like 6,000 is when God got all the business rocking and rolling. 2,000 years ago is when he like sent his final liaison.
Yeah.
Present the final. Let's make a deal.
Man, if that was God's liaison, I think we kind of proved he wasn't, right? Like because we kept going after that. That's what the Romans had to think. The Romans had to be like, fucking got him. They're like high-fiving and stuff. Like, told you there wasn't the Son of God. And they're like, oh, now we know for sure. Like, wait, what? He's dead.
No, came back to life. What? You think all the people who have a vested interest and like need careers now are going to say he came back when he didn't?
I wish TikTok had been around then. We'd know for sure.
Yeah. Would have seen how short people really were.
You think Jesus was short?
4. Well, I think everybody back then was short. Shorter, right? Like 5'4".
Yeah, not a lot of protein. I think they're just smaller people in general.
Probably.
Bitches.
Speaking of protein, I'm going to go overeat. You guys want to call it?
Yes, I'm ready. All right. PKN 409.